Sancho, gotta go. So basically, because he never apologised last year, when he should have right away, they're now having to accept 40 million for him. They paid 80, and they've paid him about 15 million quid in wages.
Oh dear!
And he's just decided now, right? Well, I thought they might sack Ten Hag, so I held out. They haven't sacked him, so I better apologise now. That ain't going to work, is it? He's basically trying to get him the sack, and now he's devalued himself for the club and himself. So if PSG apparently are going to buy him, well, like you've got to get people like that out the dressing room. They've got to go, cause havoc in the dressing room.
Yeah, some people, one or two of the players still feel that he'd done nothing wrong. He was working hard in training. That's the sort of stories that were coming out of it. I don't know. Unless you're there and you see it at first hand, it's difficult who to believe, to be honest.
Well, Al, people have got to get this on board, right? Managers do not fall out with players who give everything they've got every week. They only fall out with players who one day turn up, the next day they don't. The next day they turn up, and especially if you're scoring goals. So that's when managers fall out with people. He's not going to fall out. It's not personal vendetta against Sancho. He obviously wasn't training properly, and he wasn't good enough to start. And where's your ammunition?
Okay, let's say a very good morning to legendary sports writer Henry Winter joins us now. Henry, good morning.
Morning, Henry.
Morning, Alan. Morning, Dean. I think on Rangers, aren't they doing finishing off some rebuilding work in one of the corners?
That's what they've just whispered me. Yeah.
Right.
But that was a late goal, so it gives them a fighting chance, that qualifier. But a poor start the season for Rangers so far. But it's early days, isn't it? Celtic looked good, didn't they? Pre-season and against Kilmarnock looked very, very good.
Yeah, was it 4-0 the other day?
Could have been much more.
Terrific. I mean, he's got a good settled squad. It'll be interesting to see what happens to O'Reilly. They've got some good players there, and they've got an exceptional manager in Brendan Rodgers. So I'm not sure necessarily gets all the respect that he deserves. But that's a whole new phone in that one.
So Henry, where do we start with the Premier? Alvarez, does that surprise you? The amount of money that that Atleti are about to pay for him?
It doesn't surprise me in terms of you look at a player who's a world champion, he's a serial winner, he's 24, he's got a contract to 2028. He's versatile, he can play in a range of positions. City don't need to sell, so they can negotiate strong, and City have had, in a very good position this summer. The way they've negotiated, I think they've generated about £150 million. So I think it's sad for the Premier League to lose a player who scored 19 goals and contributed 13 assists last season. But the history of Pep Guardiola at Manchester City is if players don't look completely settled, he moves them on. You look at Mahrez, you look at Laporte, you look at Sterling. So City will move on. I mean, I listen to what your contributors and Tim were saying earlier, but if you look at City and you look at their pre-season, Oscar Bob can step up. And I think that's fantastic because you want players who not completely come up through the system, but get a chance to step up. They brought Savinho in as well. I agree with the point about Haaland, but they've played occasionally without a number 9. They've got so much strength in central midfield, whether it's De Bruyne, whether it's Foden, wherever he's going to play. They've obviously got strength out wide. So look, I think the history of City under Pep is that they lose players and move on and keep winning.
So normally, Henry, he's got something up his sleeve, Pep, and he'll produce some 20-year-old Brazilian. Have we got any clue of any names out there?
Well, he has produced a young Brazilian in Savinho. But yeah, I mean, your point, I mean, Dino, you'd be worth sort of 50, 60 million at the moment because centre forwards, finishers, I don't know what's happened to them, but they're not many because teams are only playing one up front, but they're not, they're not 10 a penny, and that's one of the reasons why Alvarez is going for a pretty penny, because he wants the players in number 9. It's one of those strange deals where actually I think it suits all parties, because Atletico needs someone like him who can run in behind, who's got that ferocious work ethic that Simeone loves. He knows obviously a lot of the players from Argentina. He played up front with Diego Simeone's son at the Olympics, certainly in 3 of the 4 games. So he will absolutely slot in well there. But yeah, where have all the centre forwards gone?
Yeah, and what's Griezmann going to do? Is he going to start?
Griezmann. Well, I mean, that's a good point. I mean, Griezmann is, he's getting slightly older. Didn't necessarily have.
He was poor, wasn't he? No, he was poor.
Yeah. He was poor in the summer, but but Simeone will get them working. He'll be, I mean, I know you want to talk about Gallagher. I can see him sort of slotting in there well as well. And you think, I don't quite know where Atletico are getting all this money from, but they're throwing money at it. And Alvarez is a fantastic signing and will do brilliantly there. City will miss him, but City will move on.
Henry, who you is it a 2-horse race again, or Liverpool have been very quiet, haven't they? But I hate to say it because I think the other teams will improve, but I still see a shootout between Arsenal and City.
Liverpool have been quiet, certainly in the transfer market, but they've actually had a good pre-season. And you think of all the young players they've got there. I think they'll have another good season. But I agree with you. I personally think Arsenal might edge City this season, not simply because of Alvarez, but I think if Arsenal signed a centre forward, if they can get a Tony, I mean, I understand all the Kai Havertz, romantics at Arsenal, people who sort of love him, and his contribution over the last 3-4 weeks of the season was terrific. But I still think they need number 9. Coming back to our debate about where have all the number 9's gone. So Gabriel Jesus can play that. I assume Eddie Nketiah at some point will have to move on to get the starts that he wants. But if you put an Ivan Toney or Julian Alvarez in that Arsenal team, they would get over the line. But I still think they've got enough. Their defence just looks so strong with their signings, and obviously Timber coming back fit. Declan Rice, we know what a good player he is. So absolutely, I think Arsenal may just edge City, but I agree with you. It's a 2-horse race, and it's always dangerous to sort of predict against Pep.
Henry, just building up to the Championship, it looks a very, very open Championship this year. Maybe Luton favourites for you or not?
I'd love to see Luton back in the Premier League because I just like that journey that they've been on. You look at what the FA done to them. You look at the sort of the financial restrictions that they've had. You go to a place like Kenilworth Road, you see the passion of the fans, and that's what the game's about. And that's why it's so important that it's great that you're celebrating the EFL, because I covered England in the summer, and so many of these players have had their opportunity, whether on loan or whether through the academies, or at the EFL. And it's vital at a time when the Premier League are still holding out, or there's this standoff over the new deal with the with the television money going down through the pyramids. The pyramid's absolutely vital. So to see a club like Luton, on their feet, building a new stadium with a good manager in Rob Edwards, with a very good board, good executive in Gary Sweet. It's a great place to go. Yeah, I'd love to see Luton back up.
talkSPORT Breakfast, waking you up Monday to Friday morning from 6 a.m. on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.